So as we do this exercise, we're going to do our best to be able to provide context for the many of those in our audience who are listening. But this is a good one to be watching on YouTube, youtube.com/cover3, because we got visuals to be able to help us work our way through this exercise. To begin, I at least want to provide a little bit of clarification. We are going to operate with something that we've discussed here on the Cover 3 podcast, and I think we all agree on. We're going to go with the 9-game conference schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The two models that are the most popular is an 8-game schedule with a 1-7-7 rotation, and then a 9-game schedule with a 3-6-6 rotation. Both of these scenarios are not pods. Greg Sankey has said multiple times on the record that they are not exploring pods, in which case you would have your little group of 4 and you'd all play each other. So it's just going to be protected rivalries, either 1 protected rivalry or 3 protected rivalries. And we are going to use the 3-6-6 9-game method, because then we've got a really tough logic problem to figure out, which is how do we line up all these teams and which rivalries get protected and which rivalries get cut. Bud, you've put in the hard work to be able to go ahead and get us started here. I've got one that I will push back on, but I want you to go ahead and set the table for those who might just be tuning in.
Yeah, so I figured like there's certain rivalries that how much time do we really need to spend debating? And I hope we actually have a debate on a couple of these, but these are the ones that I feel like are definitely going to happen, either because ESPN and the league office and both schools want, or ESPN and the league office and at least one school really wants, and the other school doesn't really have much of a leg to stand up for pushback. A&M. So I came up with 8 of them, and I think there's probably more, but these are the 8 that I felt pretty safe with. So, Tennessee, Bama, Georgia, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, Texas and Texas A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, Red River, obviously, Texas, Arkansas, which might surprise people, but like they played for the national championship multiple times. It's
Arkansas finally has a rival in the conference now.
Correct. Exactly. The Egg Bowl, the Iron Bowl, and I mean, I think that's, and Florida, Georgia, right? Unless I already said that. So there's 8 of them. Do we have a pushback on these?
I don't think Texas and Texas A&M is a guarantee.
Oh,
really?
Yes, I definitely do. Interesting. Why, Chip?
Because they broke it off. They haven't played. I mean, it's more about these other rivalries have chapters of, continued play. Like the reason why you're going to keep the Georgia Auburn game is because, the Iron Bowl is 100% going to stay, but the Georgia Auburn game has the long, deep South's oldest rivalry, Alabama, Tennessee, the continued number of occurrences. Texas and Texas A&M, they broke it off. I don't think that's a guarantee.
It's a guarantee.
Do you think just from like the selling point when like the league office and ESPN?
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say, of all the reasons like prioritized by the SEC when they create these matchups, what do you think is most important to them? Protecting historic rivalries, competitive balance, or ratings for the networks for the conference they've sold to? So
I'm gonna go with ratings.
Right?
Ratings.
I think that's number one. Like, I think you want to have the highest number you possibly can get. That's why I think Texas A&M will be in there.
I think it's ratings, but I also think we have to balance other factors, like schedule difficulty, right? For the bottom feeding schools, and there's probably 4 or 5 of them, this is going to drastically reduce their opportunity to make a bowl game every year by going to 9 games. So, like, does it matter to them, right? Schools'
Is it
top
though, or
choices.
could it help them if you kind of pair them together?
Right, exactly. So like balancing the overall difficulty of the schedule, if you do that method, then you can make it a little bit tougher at the top for your top schools, but you're going to get much better matchups, right? Also, like the schools are going to have choices in this. I was talking to Jordan, pre-show, and like Kentucky considers Tennessee to be their number 1 rival. Tennessee probably has Kentucky like 5th on the rival list. They've played forever, but it's not a close rivalry. It's not very competitive. There's not a lot of like classic Kentucky-Tennessee games that we can actually recall, unless you guys have some favorites. So like if they have to do like ranked choice type thing, I think like when we go through this, we'll probably see, because you're going to have some schools just screaming that they're getting totally screwed. And I think everybody's going to get at least one of their top choices in this. I would have to guess to balance with the ratings factor.
We're definitely going 3, right?
Oh yeah.
I would be shocked if it's just.
I saw Dan Mullen said I think the way to go is 2 and 6. You know,
but that's an 8-game schedule.
Yeah, that's if they go 8.
Right.
I think if you're ESPN,
is there a possibility they could do that?
There is, but like,
so.
yeah, I think ESPN's going to want at least 9.
I hope so. I mean, because if they go 2-6, I'll be severely disappointed. I think a lot of college football fans will, and it'll just kind of perpetuate this whole. Some conferences playing 8, some are playing 9. That'll be a bummer to me. I think they'll go 3 though.
And I think the expanded playoff makes teams a little more willing to go a 9-game conference schedule too, because there's more wiggle room to get in.
So who gets, where do you want to start, Bud? Who do we round out Auburn to just start to finish the puzzle and create the dominoes? Because if you've got Alabama and Georgia, you've got to consider competitive balance, and we've got to pull up somebody from the perceived bottom of the conference to be able to round out those protected rivalries, right?
Well, at first I want to ask, is there any guaranteed rival that we think has to be on here?
That's not already?
Correct. Yeah. Like,
Arkansas, LSU.
LSU Bama is only like a modern thing.
Right.
I would have
LSU Arkansas.
Yeah.
The boot.
We think that's going to be interesting.
I think
that's
a good
needs 3 games.
Yeah, and that's a good balance, and they've got a rivalry trophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sweet one too.
Mm-hmm. It is. I wonder how they've played a decent number of times. I think they kind of consider like Ole Miss to be a bigger rival than Arkansas, though.
I mean,
I'd have Ole Miss playing LSU too.
Yeah.
Do we have? Interesting. How do we want? So we want to put Arkansas there, because I don't know if
for me, LSU's 3 rivals are easy.
Oh,
okay. Let's start with LSU then.
All right, Arkansas, Florida, Ole Miss.
So no A&M.
Oh yeah, no A&M.
No.
Arkansas,
and also, I do think that if we do this, if the SEC or the Big Ten or any conference does this, don't etch it in stone. Put it in 4-year cycles. 2 home games, 2 away games in each, especially if you're going 3-6-6, because that way you're playing the other 6s at least twice. Go 4-year cycles, and that way leave it flexible. Like, okay, if something develops and something's kind of stagnating, you can change them up a little bit.
The ACC did that. They only committed to a couple cycles.
Mm-hmm. That's, I think, the way to go.
Yeah, to lock in the new divisionless format.
Is there a good drivable game for LSU? This is the other point I wanted to bring up. I do think one of the things that make the SEC unique is the number of games that you can typically drive to, right? I guess Ole Miss is somewhat drivable, but like your 3 closest drivable games for LSU traditionally have been Auburn, Bama, and Mississippi State. Like Arkansas is a hell of a drive from Baton Rouge. I mean, Arkansas is hard to get to for everybody. Florida is a really hard drive. I unfortunately have to make that about once a year typically. Ole Miss is reasonable. I don't know. Like we can do that. Jordan also in the chat says Missouri, Oklahoma, which I do think will almost certainly happen.
Yes, I have Oklahoma and Mizzou as one of my 3 for each.
Do we does anybody not have Oklahoma, Missouri?
So you want to round out Oklahoma? We got to round out some to be able to create the dominoes.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so let's go. Are we dead set on Arkansas, LSU? Like, Danny, you're kind of deciding.
I think it is. I think the battle for the boot's got to be in there. I think you got to keep that.
All right, we will give that to Arkansas then. All right, and LSU goes on Arkansas schedule there. I'm going to kill on top right here. We'll kill those 2.
And I think we could also throw in Missouri on Arkansas schedule and round out Arkansas.
I think that's probably doable. Yeah. Agreed.
Disagreement.
Oh,
no, it's fine.
Who do you want there?
For who? Mizzou or Arkansas?
Well, for either, I guess.
It's Arkansas's last slot.
Yeah, my 3 Arkansas rivalries are LSU because the boot, and then I went back to the SWC. Their other two rivals will be Texas and Texas A&M.
So they haven't actually played Texas A&M that much, but here's the thing I think Missouri, they don't really have a lot of like classic rivals other than Oklahoma, but I think they want a very drivable game. And Fayetteville for Missouri is by far the most drivable.
I did not consider driving distance when I was looking at these, by the way.
I didn't do it by drivable, but I tried to do for mine like bordering
regional.
states, kind of regional rivalries. Yeah. As
All right,
much
so
as possible.
do we want to vote on this? Arkansas, Missouri?
I would say LSU Arkansas is my strongest. That would be the one that I would like fight for. That's my strongest Arkansas permanent rival.
I mean, I think Arkansas, Texas for sure is the biggest one.
We want to go ahead and throw Oklahoma and Missouri on there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty safe to do.
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody, I assume?
Yes.
That's
That's Big 8, baby.
All right.
That's the thing. Like I've seen a whole bunch of like proposals for this. And everybody keeps like having Missouri play Texas and Texas A&M because they think of the Big 12. It's like they're not. Missouri was never rivals with either of those schools.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think we got to do Kentucky, Tennessee.
Yes, I agree.
See, this is an interesting one. I think I agree with you because if you have the schools rank it, that's going to be Kentucky's top choice.
If I remember from the sort of behind the scenes scuttlebutt when we saw the ACC do this, it's like you're gonna get two that you want, and you're gonna get one that you get stuck with.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like the way that the logic's going to end up breaking, where some coaches and some athletic directors felt like they didn't get everything that they wanted, but when asked to prioritize what they really wanted, I think that like you said, it's the preferred order choice type thing that you were mentioning earlier, Bud. And I think that Kentucky and Tennessee both, like Kentucky has Tennessee high, and I think Kentucky will be high enough for that to be able to click.
That makes sense. All right, so Kentucky and Tennessee, we each have one of those.
I also think we can easily round out Tennessee with Vanderbilt because Vandy, Tennessee is not going anywhere.
All right, so this is an interesting point because if you do this, that means you are not getting Tennessee, Florida, you're not getting Tennessee, Georgia, you're not getting Tennessee, Auburn annually, but they will be getting two of those three every year.
Mm-hmm.
They obviously are playing Bama. If you're a Tennessee fan, are you okay with that? Because I feel like
heck yeah, you're celebrating that. You get to play Kentucky and Vanderbilt every year. You're loving it.
Okay.
Yeah, Tennessee.
Right? I mean, I'm just saying from the Tennessee. I think if you're some other schools, you're probably like, why did Tennessee get the cakewalk?
Yeah, I think as long as you're going 3-6-6, you don't love it, but you're okay with doing it every other year. If you
from a ticket sales standpoint, you kind of hate it because like Vanderbilt's not going to travel. Kentucky's not going to travel very well.
Good thing you've got all that TV money then, bud.
Yeah. All fans in the chat and Jordan are very happy with it.
Poor South Carolina. We're sitting here.
Wow.
Deep into the operation. We got Tennessee rounded out. The Gamecocks got no rivals.
You know what it was?
So long.
For me,
passionate. No rivals.
We only got one for Florida.
All right, can we finish Auburn? Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say with South Carolina, like when I was doing this last night and this morning, like I'm sitting there thinking, well, they already play Clemson. I don't want to be super mean to them. And it's like, but I want to give them Georgia. And it's just like, I don't know, man. They're already playing Clemson every year. Now I'm giving them these programs too. It's tough.
Border. I think South Carolina, Georgia's got to be there. And that rounds out Georgia. And that rounds out Georgia with like a competitive kind of balance.
Yeah,
no, I know. It sucks for South Carolina though.
we all good with that?
Yeah.
I mean, but like South Carolina they're underdogs to what? 11 of the 16 teams annually?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not like trying to be a jerk about it, but just tradition, right? And just roster quality. They do have great fans. Okay, hey, Auburn, we need to finish them out, I assume, with somebody who is pretty low. So that's Mississippi State or Vandy, I would guess.
I ended up giving a Mississippi State.
Yeah, I like that.
Danny, what do you think about that?
Could you work Ole Miss or no?
I think Ole Miss.
Auburn and Mississippi State are little brother cousins.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
is
Second son rivalry.
you can work Ole Miss if you don't care about Ole Miss Vandy. But those schools are so close together that I think they kind of care about each other. This is like there's gonna be stuff left on the cutting room floor when we do this, for sure. I don't know what's the best way to round out Auburn that also doesn't screw everything else up.
I like Mississippi State.
I like Mississippi State.
I like Mississippi State. You can talk me into that one.
All right, let's do Miss State here.
Oh, man,
Hey, Jordan, the formatting worked.
rivalry.
All right.
We got to think of a trophy for that.
What, for the
Yes,
Auburn Mississippi State?
Yeah, for the second son rivalry.
Yeah. All right. So we're Alabama. You want to leave? We need a second one for LSU. We've talked a lot about LSU and all the different teams. We also need a second one for Florida if we want to bring LSU Florida back into the equation.
I think
I know what
have
we
to go
can do.
LSU Ole Miss. Or
Yes.
sorry, go ahead.
No,
Like,
go.
That was actually the rivalry that was most close to putting on the pre-show stuff.
LSU Ole Miss.
Yeah. They
They don't like each other. They've
Yeah.
got a long history.
I like that.
it's also somewhat drivable, whereas like Arkansas is kind of not.
Yeah. So now LSU has Arkansas and Ole Miss. And hey, you know what? For those listening at home, here's what we've got so far. Alabama has Auburn and Tennessee missing a third. Arkansas has Texas and LSU missing a third. Auburn, 3 permanent protected rivalries: Alabama, Georgia, and Mississippi State. Florida, we currently have them with Georgia missing 2. Georgia rounded out. Its 3 are Auburn, Florida, South Carolina. Kentucky just has Tennessee right now. LSU has Arkansas and Ole Miss. Mississippi State has Ole Miss and Auburn. Missouri just has Oklahoma. Oklahoma has Texas and Missouri. Ole Miss, you've got Mississippi State and LSU. South Carolina just has Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Texas A&M just has Texas. Vanderbilt just has Tennessee.
Can we?
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Just gonna say, can we just give Texas A&M, Oklahoma each other?
They're not really rivals, and I kind of wonder if that's going to piss off Texas A&M more than already having to play Texas, because it's like, hey, we still consider you a Big 12 school, and here's all these Big 12 opponents that you get to play.
But I mean, you could say Oklahoma and Texas A&M aren't really rivals, but who else in the SEC is Oklahoma rivals with?
That's fair.
At least they have a history. SWC and Big 12, or no, Big 12, not SWC.
That's true.
Oh, the Ole Miss LSU rivalry game needs to be the Coach O Trophy. Shout out to Vols fan 98 for that one. A shirtless coach. I need a bronze shirtless Coach O.
So just Coach O?
Challenging everyone to a fight.
So just Coach O.
Yeah.
He just needs to show up and stand on the sideline, and then after the game, the winning team picks him up and carries him to the locker room.
I think Texas A&M LSU, by the way, is somewhat drivable, and that has been nasty in recent years, I guess.
It is pretty short. Yeah.
The like 7 overtime game fights, Texas A&M handing LSU a loss, even though LSU had already clinched the SEC West. I mean, we've got some theatrics there for sure.
Florida people apparently don't want LSU, by the way. I'm just trying to think ahead on this.
Why not?
Why not?
Like they don't like each other, but it's like they don't want to play that every year, I guess. I don't know why.
If
Then they have to
feedback
have
on Twitter, not official.
That's what a rivalry is. The real rivalries are the ones where the fan base is denied.
You want to go hang out?
Yeah.
Want to go play golf before the game?
Yeah.
Come on.
All right. So where are we going here? We want Texas A&M, Oklahoma?
I think it makes more sense than Texas A&M and anybody else, honestly.
All right. I think if you're going to do that,
Arkansas,
you have to give Missouri, Arkansas then, because those schools are going to want to play each other, I think, just for driving distance. It also allows Arkansas the chance to have an actual win, potentially, or
Missouri to have an actual win.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So that closes out Arkansas with Texas, LSU, and Missouri. Great rivalry and to a battle line rivalry and the boot. Love that. Love where we're at with the Hogs. Can we close? All right. So we're just going to still leave. Florida's just going to sit back and take the scraps is apparently where we're headed right now.
I mean, you get Florida gets so Florida's a really interesting one because you get a lot of their fans say they don't want to play LSU every year. Florida Auburn actually for most of our lives has been a pretty good rivalry. Just the last like decade or so, they really have rarely played it since the expansion to 14. Florida Tennessee, so they're going to get LSU Auburn Tennessee basically every other year. So one year you'll play two, the other year you'll play one of those in addition to playing Georgia, and they already play FSU, which seems like it's on the way back.
Well, it depends on how Florida turns out.
Yeah, I've got South Carolina playing Florida as one of their rivals.
Spurrier Trophy.
I do too.
Yeah. My Florida rivals were Georgia, LSU, and South Carolina.
All right, so we want to put Florida, South Carolina, just get everybody at least to 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we still have old Vanderbilt sitting down there.
That's right.
Kentucky.
We need to figure out who gets Vandy since we gave Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Kentucky and Vandy. Bang, bang.
Yeah, that should
Kentucky,
keep them happy.
Vandy.
Tennessee, Vandy. Yeah, would we rather Kentucky, Vandy? I guess because Mississippi State needs one too. And if we go, I don't know, if we go Mississippi State, Kentucky, they already play each other annually in the current thing. Then you could get, you could keep Ole Miss, Vandy, which probably keeps Ole Miss happy. But I don't know, like, do we care? But you want Kentucky, Vandy? We can do that.
Yeah.
And then I think Vandy's final one is Ole Miss.
Yep. That's perfect.
So Vandy would be playing. Yeah, because we didn't give we didn't give Vandy to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so we actually were able to keep that. That's not bad.
Yeah,
Not
Ole
messing
Miss,
this up, right?
No, Ole Miss rounded out with Mississippi State, LSU, and Vandy. Vandy rounded out with Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. Again, Texas is rounded out with Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Oklahoma rounded out with Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M. Georgia's got Auburn, Florida, South Carolina. That makes total sense. And Auburn's got Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi State. Arkansas's got Texas, LSU, and Missouri. And now we have hit the point where, like, league offices are just going to have to hand some rivalries to some of these teams just to make all the logic work. So who gets their priority now?
I do want to point out something in the chat. It's pretty lame to have Texas playing all Big 12 games. You can't create a new rivalry. Like, Arkansas has not been in the Big 12 for 22 years now.
Arkansas was never in the Big 12.
Yeah.
You know what happens for the other 6 games they're playing against other SEC teams?
Arkansas also stomped the hell out of Texas the last time they played, by the way, we should point out. So this is sort of, even if you don't like it as Texas fans, this is sort of in that Kentucky, Tennessee range where, like, if you're Arkansas and you have to turn in like your top 5 choices, it's like Texas, and then you write Texas again second, just to be sure the league office gets your point, right?
Also, why can't we create a rivalry is just an absolute misnomer.
What's your favorite created rivalry, Tom?
That's what I'm saying. UCF and UConn, the civil conflict. That's what he wants. He wants more civil conflicts.
Texas A&M, South Carolina, which was created in 14, right? When they expanded, or whenever Missouri came over.
South Carolina, Mizzou,
or 12.
Old school hatred there.
Kentucky, Mississippi State's been an absolute rivalry. Yeah.
Dabo versus NIL.
That's the thing. Like, when you're bringing in these new schools, you want to make them feel at home. So give them the schools they're familiar with. Like, the fan bases already know them. It's already there. It doesn't feel cheap and manufactured right off the bat, which is the concern when you do something like this.
I think I have a banger.
Alabama, LSU? Just round them both out?
Yeah, because I was a little like, I'm not really sure on this. If you're not going to give LSU Texas A&M, LSU's going to want, I think LSU wants Bama. If your Bama, is Auburn, Tennessee, LSU too tough?
That's too tough.
No.
How is that not too tough?
It depends on how, well.
You're Alabama.
So you're not going to be Alabama forever?
Isn't this where, like, you think, does ESPN step in and like, look how often CBS picks Bama LSU for its night game?
Honestly, that's one thing for we've got Tennessee rounded out, but saying goodbye to Florida, Tennessee. Florida, Tennessee has been an SEC on CBS game almost annually.
Isn't that the third Saturday in September game?
It's like the third Saturday in September, which isn't a thing, but kind of is a thing. They like tried to make it a thing in the 90s when Florida and Tennessee were playing for.
Yeah, I remember some bangers. Florida and Tennessee were doing away with that one.
I think you could make Florida Tennessee, but then it really
too far gone, Danny. We're too
Give Vanderbilt Missouri.
No, Missouri's going to want.
Missouri would love Vanderbilt. Let's just get that straight.
Guess we're no longer worried about drivability now. We're just going to throw Baton Rouge and Tuscaloosa together.
I think that LSU, Arkansas, Ole Miss has room for a third that is a step up in competition, or at least like perceived.
Yeah, Florida.
You could give them Florida, yeah, if you want, and just piss. Like, sorry, Florida fans, we're going to give you LSU still.
No, you guys do. If I'm outvoted, I'm outvoted. But I
don't know if you are outvoted. I think we're just going through the options. Like,
so for LSU's third rivalry, that we're choosing between Alabama and Florida, and for
I think A&M.
I'm not as in on the A&M, but
no, I kind of like LSU A&M because Bud's right. That is a very quick drive. Like, I remember one time I had a connecting flight. I was coming back from New Orleans and it had to stop in Houston. And I'm sitting there thinking they might as well just put us on a bus and drove us here. Like, that had to have been cheaper than flying us 20 minutes.
I remember I had to get to the LSU Nike, or the Baton Rouge, New Orleans Nike camp. And I was on a flight and they realized they were having like all these problems. Like, can I just get off? And the flight attendant was like, check a bag. I was like, no. She's like, okay, yeah. And there's like, I got to get to there because it starts early in the morning, and this is the last flight out of there. So I ended up making that drive, and it's really not it's not that bad. It's like 5.5, I guess. I don't know. LSU Florida is more of a defined rivalry in my opinion. Mm-hmm. LSU Bama is the best game. Right. If you go LSU Bama, you almost have to give Texas A&M who? Because I'm worried about
well, then it becomes Florida, and now we've got a created rivalry. Now we've forced something.
And
or Missouri.
The argument against giving Texas A&M LSU is that Texas A&M's three rivals are then Texas, Oklahoma, and LSU, which is not nice. That is just mean.
That is true. We're not giving them Alabama. A&M, that is.
Mm-hmm.
That would be funny.
Why? That would give them fun, especially if it was 4 years.
Yeah,
you could give A&M
reevaluate when Jimbo's gone and Nick retires.
Yeah, you can give them Missouri. You can give them Mississippi State. I think Missouri would make more sense, but
if you give them Mississippi State, then it's not a all old Big 12 matchup.
Yeah, Mississippi State's got that spot to fill too.
You want to round out Texas A&M with Mississippi State?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that some sort of agricultural thing?
Yeah,
there you go. Aggies. There you go.
100%.
They can play for like the bronze hoe.
So now
there you go. Now we're creating trophies too. I like it.
Look at this. I like it.
All right, so we've got a matchup out some version of Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, and South Carolina to finish this out.
Don't you just throw Kentucky and South Carolina together?
Or Missouri and South Carolina. No, wait, Missouri. Yeah. Missouri still has another one to fill.
See that.
Or Missouri, Kentucky.
Here's
an easy draw for Kentucky.
Here's the problem that we're kind of coming up across here. With the games that are remaining, Alabama's third rival has to be Florida, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri, or South Carolina. Missouri and South Carolina make no sense as a rival for Alabama. So if you're giving it to them, you're only giving them as a here. We want to.
It cannot be South Carolina, because South Carolina already plays Clemson.
Already plays Georgia. Oh my God, that's why we should do it. We should make them play Clemson, Georgia, Florida, and Alabama every year.
You take the check, you take the losses.
I think you keep LSU, Alabama. That's my vote.
Yeah, that's fine. I think of the remaining options, that makes the most sense.
All right,
let's do it. Wild.
And that's the TV partner stepping in too.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you flow Florida, well, then man, Florida would be I get you play Florida State, but South Carolina, Kentucky, I don't think you can do that, can you? That's too much of a gift.
Well, there's going to be some
Well,
winners and losers.
Florida's going to be pissed about this for one thing, in that like there are years in which they never get the home game against Georgia, and they never play a road game against Georgia. But technically, there's that one year where they only get 3 SEC home games, right? Because the game in Jacksonville, the cocktail party, counts as a home game. So then, if 2 of your 3 home games in that year happen to be South Carolina, Kentucky, that's a pretty bad, like, because those teams are not going to travel and like as well as the best teams, and then your home fans may not love that quite as much, I guess.
I say we fill in Alabama, LSU. Let's round those two out.
Let's have some chaos. Oh, sorry.
Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU makes sense for Alabama, and LSU gets Arkansas, Ole Miss, and Alabama. That makes sense for LSU. Florida now is either going to get South Carolina, Missouri, or Kentucky. I think Kentucky makes the most sense.
Me too. You know,
For
they
Florida?
won 29 straight years.
Florida already plays South Carolina in this.
Yeah.
Oh, then it has to be.
That's when it gets easy.
It's either
But, I mean,
Florida,
it's not like
Missouri,
anybody else.
or
It's either Florida, Missouri, or Florida, Kentucky.
I think it's Florida.
I think Kentucky, Florida makes the
Kentucky.
most sense.
Yeah.
OG, SEC.
I mean, Mizzou and South Carolina makes no sense geographically, but they do both play in Columbia. So
Yep.
that's fun, at least.
I got a question. He's football only?
Yes.
Yeah.
I asked that this morning. Yeah.
Did
Basketball.
they already like they've said that they're only going to do this for football?
Yeah, because in basketball, like you're playing like a 20-game
20-game
conference schedule. So it doesn't
Can't do it.
You're playing everybody at least once anyway.
And in the 20-game conference schedule, you're playing everybody at least once, and I think you really are only guaranteed like 1 or 2 that are going to for sure be a home and home, and then the rest of it just kind of rotates.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
There'll be 5 home and homes and 15 single opponents.
so
This is super hard, by the way, to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's
But we
going to be
did it.
pissed off regardless.
Coming up Wednesday on the Cover 3 podcast.
all right, so Alabama has Auburn, Tennessee, LSU. Arkansas has Texas, LSU, Missouri. Auburn has Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi State. Florida has Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky. Georgia has Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina. Kentucky has Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Florida. LSU has Arkansas, Ole Miss, Alabama. Mississippi State has Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas A&M. Missouri has Oklahoma, Arkansas, South Carolina. Oklahoma has Texas, Missouri, Texas A&M. Ole Miss has Mississippi State, LSU, Vanderbilt. South Carolina has Georgia, Florida, Missouri. Tennessee has Alabama, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. Texas has Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Texas A&M gets Texas, Oklahoma, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt gets Tennessee, Kentucky, and Ole Miss. So what feels the best? What feels the rightest? That might be even close to, like, I feel like this is going to be a draw that we are probably going to see. We tried our best, but we know that this is not going to be exactly what it is. And if it is,
Auburn's
SEC
I think
League
feels the best.
office, SEC League office owes us money.
Georgia and Texas. Yeah.
Yeah, Georgia and Texas, I think we nailed dead on.
Like, I would bet a lot of money that is Texas' schedule.
And Danny, you said Auburn was the
Yeah,
one.
I like the Mississippi State one is a little bit forced, but I mean the other 2 are 100% locks.
Yeah.
It could be Vandy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see some Missouri fans in the chat, or maybe they're South Carolina fans, talking about how they don't like how Missouri has Oklahoma, Arkansas, South Carolina feels forced for them. But here's my thought: if I'm the SEC and I'm getting a complaint from South Carolina fans or Missouri fans, I'm saying, Missouri, we gave you Arkansas and Oklahoma, which are the 2. Like, you get your biggest rival in OU, you get your most drivable game in Arkansas. Shut up, right? And then South Carolina, we gave you Georgia and Florida, which are your 2 best home game draws every year. And like, you're getting to play the 2 big boys. And then we give you a bit of a break in Missouri, because even though you've not been a better program than Missouri, all your fans think that you are. So here, right? Are those teams really getting screwed that much?
I mean, I think this is so fair that even Vanderbilt's not getting hammered here.
South Carolina is eternally screwed as long as they continue playing Clemson every year, and they've got to play Georgia every year. And it's as long as those two are Georgia and Clemson, you're just screwed no matter what you do. There's no combination of three opponents we can give South Carolina where they're not going to be like,